It's Selection Day in the National Football League.
It's intercepted by Charles Woodson. Charles Woodson took it away, and there he goes down the sideline. He's got to go. Polish off the Heisman.
It's D-Day for the Dealmakers as they look to rein in football's best playmakers.
Oh! Sacked by Wadsworth. Court drop. Now play. Out of the pocket. Sack. He's sacked. Oh, he hit him hard. He's sacked by Wadsworth.
For 18 years, we've zeroed in on the very first pick. Who'll it be in our 19th year? We know it's a quarterback.
Back to pass goes deep. Here's the rush. He throws to the end zone. Touchdown!
Touchdown! That is the most unbelievable touchdown play in a college football game.
Manning back to throw. Looking pass down and out is touchdown. They got it. He scored. Peyton Manning. Give him 6.
The NFL is full of stars, but there's always room for more in the galaxy. It's blast-off time for the class of 1998. New York City, the Big Apple. Madison Square Garden, the site of so many major big-time sporting events, and inside at the theater. They're ready. And some of the best players, we'll hear from them very early. Peyton Manning. Will he go first to the Colts? Or will it be Ryan Leaf that goes first to the Colts and second to the Chargers? Charles Woodson, the Heisman Trophy winner. We'll hear from him very early. And the running back that everybody covets, Penn State's Curtis Enis. It's the 63rd annual selection meeting of the National Football League. I look forward every year to just saying that. Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Berman, and welcome inside here to the theater, along with my usual compatriots, Mel Kiper and Joe Theismann. We have Tom Jackson up on the demo set. We're everywhere. Chris Fowler and our college gang up in Connecticut. We are all over the country. And to steal from Chuck Berry's sweet little 16, we're really rocking in Boston and Miami FLA. We're up the coast in Jacksonville and Cincinnati IA. All right, I'll stop now, which is too good to pass up. The first pick in Indianapolis, a later pick in Green Bay. We're live in the heart of Texas and out in the desert in Arizona. And with the most intriguing player early on in West Virginia with Marshall's wide receiver Randy Moss. We'll video teleconference into the Jets and Giants and Baltimore. And Carolina and Tampa Bay and New Orleans and Kansas City and St. Louis in the Windy City in Minnesota, the champion Broncos and San Francisco. Frankly, we're going to run up a hell of a phone bill. Radio, wall-to-wall, ESPN Radio, noon to 6, ESPN.com, and that's not it. And welcome back to New York. We are eagerly anticipating the start of what may go down in history when we look back 10 years from now as the high watermark draft of the entire decade of the 90s. The Indianapolis Colts have been, which quarterback do they go with? Peyton Manning, Ryan Leaf. Our Mark Malono's out in Indianapolis. Let's get the last word before it's official. Mark?
Well, the last word is that Bill Polian and Jim Mora, this organization, Boomer, they're not making it public in terms of who they've decided on. They spent many hours last night, very late, trying to separate these two quarterbacks. Bill Polian had told me that earlier in the day, they had them about a tenth of a point apart. They were very, very close. They spent most of the night separating those two. And I had probably one of the most interesting philosophical discussions about quarterbacks with Polian that I've had in a long time. For about an hour last night, we discussed the pros and cons of these two guys. First of all, Polian says that he's not enamored necessarily with big, strong guys, although both of these quarterbacks are 6'5". Peyton Manning, it seems to me, is the guy that has the most experience, and that ultimately is going to be, I think, the difference in this draft. He played the extra year, certainly, as he came back, 6'5", 230. He's got more game time experience. He prepares well. Again, the nickname, the caveman, that he's been tagged with by his teammates because he watches so much film. And when you look at all the intangibles that Bill Polian really researches and looks at in a quarterback, especially with the track record this franchise has had over the last decade or two in terms of quarterbacks, they need to make the right choice. He's not saying, Boomer, but I can tell you this. In my gut, if I was playing poker with him, I think it's going to be Peyton Manning.
I think if we had to go out on a limb, that would be our guess. But you know what? They earned this 4 months of keeping everybody in suspense. Let them keep it for another 15 minutes. Let's go quickly to Mel Kiper and obviously Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf, who guys are going to talk about at length and hopefully at length for the next 12, 14 years. Let's look at overall value. How would you rank the board specifically on the best players available?
I think when you look at it, Chris, Andre Wadsworth could be the next Bruce Smith. Arizona trades down, still gets the best player on my board. Charles Woodson, dynamic, pure cornerback. Then the two quarterbacks, the cerebral quarterback in Manning, the gunslinger in Leaf. Keith Brooking, a versatile kid, can play middle linebacker, can play outside linebacker, and of course Curtis Enos, very well-rounded running back, outstanding pass receiver out of the backfield. Then there's a drop-off. After those top four, the grades slip a little bit. Then you pick it up again with Takeo Spikes, an outstanding middle linebacker. A couple players to watch. Kyle Turley, because of his versatility, can play guard or tackle. And Grant Wistrom has definitely moved up into that top 10 because of his very consistent motor.
The most intriguing story of the day will be the wide receiver for Marshall, Randy Moss, who I did not see right there. What happens with him?
Well, the off-the-field concerns certainly are there. Not on the field. Of course, at Marshall, dominated the Mid-American Conference. Those 44 touchdowns really stick out. He was a man among boys when you talk about how he dominated cornerbacks in the MAC. But those off-the-field concerns, and really as a wide receiver, he still has to develop his skills, getting off press coverage, route running.
But for Pro Bowl talent, he may be a man among boys, as you say. Well, we're about ready to tee it off. And on the first tee, Commissioner Paul Tagliabue.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. And thank you for being here. Welcome to the National Football League's 1998 player draft. We'll start with the Indianapolis Colts having the first selection. The Colts are now on the board.
So while the Colts, quote, think it over, Joe, Peyton Manning, Ryan Leaf, both have potential to be stars for a long time. Do you have a preference?
Actually, I don't necessarily have a preference because both bring a lot to the table. These are both very good athletes. They're both very big, young football players. When you take a look at the opportunities that they've had to play, you have to take a look at the experience that Peyton Manning has. He's played a lot longer. As a matter of fact, Ryan Leaf played 2 years in high school, 2 years in college. Peyton Manning played all 4 years in college, so he's played more just in college. Leadership. Because Manning has played more, he has that ability, but Ryan Leaf jumped up a lot in his senior year. Maturity, again, because Manning has played so much football, he gets the edge there. Physical skills, Ryan Leaf brings just a ton of natural talent. And the conversation that you have with the personnel people and the coaches regarding these young men is the upside in Ryan Leaf is terrific. What you get from Peyton Manning right now is a wonderful, polished athlete. Both of them bring a lot of assets to this table. I think both will fit very well with the teams that they wind up with.
Well, each owner brought jerseys of both. And by the way, whoever team that they don't go to, let's just say the Colts pick Peyton Manning, wonder how much that Ryan Leaf Colts jersey would be worth at a charity auction. In 1983, John Elway was drafted first by the Baltimore Colts. Do you remember?
Baltimore selects as the first choice in the draft quarterback John Elway of Stanford.
As I stand here right now playing baseball, I said I don't want to be a jerk or anything about it. We've been telling you for 3 months that I'm not going to play in Baltimore, and I know for a fact you've been offered 3 1s and a quarterback, and you turned that down. And right now you have nothing.
Of course, John Elway never took a snap for the Baltimore, then Indianapolis Colts, quarterback for the Denver Broncos, and of course will be receiving his Super Bowl ring before opening day. The Broncos, John Elway, of quarterbacks who have started 6 games or more since 1983, he's the only one. What have the Colts done since then? Jeff George, Jim Harbaugh, Pierre Trudeau, Mike Onion, Pagel, Chris Chandler, Gary Hogeboom, Paul Justin, a smattering of who they've had. 20 years ago, they drafted Burt Jones in the first round, and he worked out. But Elway never became a Colt. Art Schlichter was a first-round pick. They have a chance to undo a lot of negative history in the quarterback. I don't mean that Jim Harbaugh or Jeff George weren't good players, but maybe not to the degree of Peyton Manning, who brings special talent, starting with his release. Almost releases the ball too quick, doesn't he, Mel?
I'll tell you, when you look at Peyton Manning, his size, he's over 6'5". You look at that 230-pound frame, really an extension of your offensive coordinator. Statistics prove them out what I'm talking about in terms of his accuracy. I mean, he is on target with virtually every pass. I think very underrated arm strength. But really what sets Peyton Manning apart is this ability you see here. Check off, read defenses, and show poise under pressure, and the touch on the football. He's really a pitcher. He's not a thrower. He's really rounded off his game as a passer. And I'll tell you, the arm strength, watch him here. You know, stick it between a defender, get it in the end zone. And when you see accuracy, I think that's what I'm talking about here. On the money. He knows how to get it between defenders. And